So let's move on to the next question, guys. In this question, we are given that there is a jar which contains B black marbles, W white marbles, and R red marbles, right? And this is an inequality which has been given to us. Now, what we do is that we draw one marble from the jar. So we have to compare the probability that the marble is red and the probability that the marble is white, right? So firstly, tell me, what are the total number of marbles? The total marbles, will be how many? B plus W plus R, right? Because jar contains B black, W white, R red. So total marbles will be B plus W plus R, right? So B plus W plus R will be the total marbles, right? Now tell me, what is the probability the marble is red? So probability the marble is red is equals to the number of red marbles, which is R. So the number of red marbles upon the total number of marbles, which is B plus W plus R. I hope this is very basic, right? Similarly, what is the probability the marble is white? Probability that the marble is white is equals to the number of white marbles upon the total number of marbles. So what are the white marbles? White marbles is W upon B plus W plus R, right? So basically, this is one part, right? And this is one part. And we have to compare these two things. So if you see in these two things, the denominator is the exact same, which is B plus W plus R, B plus W plus R. So we only have to compare the numerator, which is R and W. For example, if R is greater, then the probability of red becomes bigger. If W is bigger, the probability of white becomes bigger. And if R is equal to W, the probability is same. So what I mean is, we have to compare R and W. So we are concerned with two things, R and W. So we basically have to compare these two things, right? Okay. Now tell me one thing, we have been given this inequality, right? R upon B plus W is equals to W upon B plus R. If you carefully look at this, it's a little difficult to actually infer if R is greater or W is greater from this given inequality. But what if I tell you, if you add plus 1 on both the sides? Now, what is the use of adding plus 1 on both the sides? If you carefully see, over here, R is here, and over in the denominator, there is B plus W. So if you look at the denominator, for example, I'll show you. If you add 1 on both the sides, right? So this becomes R upon B plus W plus 1 is greater than W upon B plus R plus 1. It doesn't make any difference. You can cancel 1. You will again get the same thing as that, right? Now, if you take the denominator, you will take B plus W. What will you get above? You will get R plus B plus W, right? Is greater than. If you take a denominator over here, B plus R, what will you get over here? You will get W plus B plus R. I hope this makes pretty good sense. Now if you see, the numerator becomes same, W plus B plus R, W plus B plus R, right? So this was the intention of adding 1, right? Now tell me one thing, over here in the denominator, B is also the same. The only difference is W and R over here, right? Now tell me one thing, the numerator is same in both these things. The numerator is same in both these things, which is this and this. And because this side is greater than this side, that means the denominator will be smaller over here, right? If the entire thing is bigger than this, and if the numerator is the same, then obviously the denominator will be smaller, right, than this. In this case, the denominator will be greater, and in this case, the denominator will be smaller. But tell me one thing, in both the denominators b is common, right? That means if this denominator is greater than this denominator and if b is common, that means obviously r will be greater than w, right? Because b is common, if r is greater than w, automatically this denominator becomes bigger, this denominator becomes smaller, and if this denominator becomes smaller, obviously the entire value becomes greater, right? This means that r has to be greater than w. That means we can infer that r has to be greater than w, right? Now let's come back to our original discussion. We have to compare r and w. We have come out with a equation that r is greater than w. So probability of red is r upon this, probability of white is w upon this. This part is the same, and because r is greater than w, that means the probability of red will be greater than the probability of white. That means this part is greater than this part, and therefore the answer becomes A. So I hope this should be very clear. Over here, you had to use a little bit of trick. There might be other ways also where you cross multiply and then you solve, but it will get a little complex, right? So because in the exam, it's all about solving the question quickly and correctly. So this is how the approach should be. So I hope this should be absolutely fine.